My lovely viewers, you are welcome to today's lesson. This is Tiben Math class. In today's lesson, we're going to learn inverse of a function and the functions. When we say the inverse of a function, what does it mean? An inverse function is a function by which the mapping is from the range set to the domain set. The inverse function undoes what the function does. What it means is that when we talk about the inverse function, it is the function that undoes what the function does. Let's look at the diagram on the board. This is the domain, and this is the codomain. It can clearly be seen that one is producing one as a result of squaring the element 1 in the domain. 2 is producing 4. Squaring 2 will give you 4. Squaring 3 will give you 9. Squaring 4 will give you 16. So it can clearly be seen that the main function is f of x is equal to x squared. It means that when you square any of the elements in the domain, it produces an image in the codomain. Looking at this diagram, it can clearly be seen that what we have in the codomain is now beginning. So the codomain is here. In other words, the range set is here, and then the domain set is here. So now 1 is producing 1, 4 is producing 2, 9 is producing 3, and then 16 is producing 4. What it means is that at this point, it has been inversely written. How is it done? When you have the square of any expression, its inverse will be the square root of that expression. So therefore, the inverse function is the square root of x. So when the range set begins and then it is mapped onto the domain set, it means that we are finding the inverse function of the given function. In our first example for today, we are to find the inverse of the following functions. The first one is f of x is equal to 15 minus 7x. So we are going to find a certain function that undoes what this function does. What are the steps to follow? 1. Change the name of the function to y. So changing the name of the function, which is f of x, to y, we will have y is equal to 15 minus 7x. The next step is interchange the positions of x and y. This means that in place of y, we write x, and then in place of x, we write y. Interchanging the positions means that y will now be used as x will now be used as y. So we are going to have x is equal to 15 minus 7y. At this point, what do we do next? We make y the subject. So let's see. The terms over here, it is only this that contains y. Because it is being affected by a negative sign, let's bring it here. So you have 7y is equal to, the 15 was maintained, the x is going there minus x. How do we find y? We divide here by 7, here by 7. So this cancels this. Now our y is equal to 15 minus x divided by 7. Therefore, the inverse function of f of x will be written as f inverse of x is equal to 15 minus x all on 7. So that will be the inverse function of the function f of x. In Our B, we have g of x is equal to 5x minus 13 all on 12. The first step, change the name of the function to y. So it will be y is equal to 5x minus 13 on 12. The next step says that interchange the positions of the x and the y. What it means is that in place of y, we will write x there. In place of x, we will write y there. So it will be x is equal to 5y minus 13 divided by 12. Having interchanged the positions of the x and the y, we now make y the subject. How do we make y the subject? First and foremost, we multiply this by this. So when you multiply 12 by this, it's like doing cross multiplication. But this one is over 1. So when you multiply 1 by this, you get the same thing. So 12 by x will be 12x. And this will be equal to 5y minus 13. At this point, we will group like terms. How do we group like terms? The one with y will be maintained at one side, then those without y will be taken to the other side of the equal sign. So we will bring the 13 here. So we have 12x plus 13 is equal to 5y. At this point, we divide here by 5, all this by 5. So when 5 cancels 5, we now have y to be equal to 12x plus 13 all on 5. At this point, we can therefore say that the inverse of the function g of x is g inverse of x is equal to 12x plus 13 all on 5. So this is the answer for the function in B. In example 2, we are to find the inverse of the following functions. The first one is h of x is equal to, in a square root, 6x minus 13. What is the first step to follow? The first step says that change the name of the function to y. So we have y is equal to, in a square root, 6x minus 13. What does the next step say? Interchange the positions of x and y. So in place of y, it will be x. Then in a square root, you have 6. In place of x, you have y minus 13. At this point, what do? We make y the subject. How do we make y the subject? First and foremost, because the expression where the y is found is seen in a square root, we will get rid of the square root first. What do? We square this, we square all this. At this point, the square will cancel the square root. We have x squared is now equal to 6y minus 13. How do we make y the subject? We bring the 13 here first. So x squared plus 13 will be equal to 6y. Divide here by 6, all this by 6. This cancels this. Now, my y is equal to x squared plus 13 all on 6. Therefore, the inverse function of h of x is now h inverse of x is equal to x squared plus 13 divided by 6. So we have been able to find the inverse function of the function h of x. In the B, we have the expression g of x is equal to half, in a bracket, 3x minus 2 on 3. Now, the first thing that we need to do is to simplify this. Since we have a term outside the bracket and some inside the bracket, we can simplify it before the steps are followed. So we can write g of x is equal to, now multiplying half by 3x will be 3 on 2x. Multiplying half by this will be 1 on 3. Why? Because the 2 will cancel the 2. So it will be left with 1 by 1 and then 1 by 3. So we have 1 on 3. Now this one can further be simplified. How? We write g of x is equal to, we do that by finding the LCM of the denominators. Now what will be the LCM? 6. Now 2 goes into 6 how many times? 3. 3 by the 3x will be 9x minus 3 goes into this 2. 2 by 1 will be 2. At this point, we have simplified the expression here to get a simple expression. Therefore, the steps will be followed. What's the first step? Change the name of the function to y. So we will have y is now equal to 9x minus 2 on 6. What will be the next step? The next step will be interchange the positions of x and y. So we are going to have x is equal to 9y minus 2 on 6. The next step will be making y the subject. So the 6 will be multiplied by this. So it will be 6x is equal to 9y minus 2. At this point, we group like terms. The y will be maintained. Those without y will be taken to one side of the equal sign. So it will be 6x. The negative 2 comes here as positive 2 equal to 9y. Here by 9, here by 9. When 9 cancels 9, our y is now equal to 6x plus 2 all on 9. Therefore, the inverse function of g of x will be g inverse of x is equal to 6x plus 2 all on 9. So this will be the answer for the question in B. Before today's lesson is brought to an end, I would like to give you a trial question. The question is on the board. You solve, you put your solution at the comment section. If you have really found this video useful, please subscribe to my channel and like my video. You'll meet another time for another lesson. Until then, goodbye.